Okay, if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm Diana Gray. I'm the Community Marketing Manager for America. And today we have Pankaj, Rahul, and Faiz with us. And so if you guys want to introduce yourself quickly, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. This is one of the first ones, a eight-part series. So we welcome you wholeheartedly to join us in this very interactive and very informative SAP automation sessions. My name is Pankaj Banka. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO at the Silicon Partners, and two times UiPath MVP as well. From a personal background, I have 24 plus years of SAP experience, and then 7 to 8 years in the automation space. So I will let Rahul introduce him and then Faiz Rahul.
Thanks, Pankaj. Good afternoon. My name is Rahul Goyal. I work for Elucine as Senior Director for the ERP systems, which is SAP and some other enterprise systems. And we are also UiPath customer for a couple of years now. I also have similar, like Pankaj said, SAP background for many years, and then a couple of years into UiPath now, and then two times MVP. So looking forward to this conversation to share from my perspective the customer story and how we started our journey as a customer on SAP and into UiPath, what benefits it's giving to us as a business. Happy to share those insights through this series, which Pankaj and his team is running. So thank you, everyone. Pass over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining the session. My name is Mohammad Faiz Khan. I'm a senior technical consultant with the Silicon Partners. I am a two times UI HyperAct champion and one time AI Summit champion.
Great. Can you go to the next slide? Diana, you're on mute.
So as you can see, we have an amazing team here today. And our target audience is typically developers, customers, partners. So we just want you to know that that this is being managed, typically these sessions, by MVPs in Canada, Latin America, and the USA. You're encouraged to network with MVPs. Typically, if you have any questions, you can put those in chat during this session. You can also typically find these guys on the forum. If you have any questions, we can always address them there. You can reach out to me. Our hope is that you guys have interest in these topics. This is a particular interest to me. It's SAP, and these guys are experts in the field. And if you have any other things you would like us to discuss or topics you'd like us to do in the future, please let us know. And with that, I'm just going to turn it back over to Pankaj and let them begin their session. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Next slide. So as I mentioned, right, this is an eight-part series. So today is the first one, which is happening now. We'll highly encourage everyone to register for the second one, which is on October 3rd, which goes a little bit deep dive into how do we do those UiPath automation using SAP OData RFCs and some BAPI automation. I know BAPI is kind of um, going end of life with the automations piece, but I mean, we'll talk about what are the new technologies within SAP that you can use UiPath with. So we'll highly encourage everyone to register for the October 3rd session, and then we'll keep on posting the following ones. Diana will do that shortly after this. Next slide. Just high level agenda. I mean, since this is the first one, we just want to, I mean, touch upon the basics of SAP automation using UiPath. So, I mean, there are different types of GUIs available within SAP now with ECC and the new S4 version as well. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some of the standard SAP activities that are present within the UiPath platform, some best practices, and then Faiz will do a small demo, a real life demo using SAP GUI. And then obviously, if there are any Q&As, you can always post them on your chat or ask in the end. And then in the end, we'll provide you with some useful resources as well that you can refer to after this session. Next slide. So I'll hand it over to Faiz just to get started with the actual session, and then Rahul will chime in between with his basically as a customer, as an MVP, how he has started within his organization doing automations using UiPath on SAP ecosystem. Faiz, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So hi everyone, once again, thank you so much for joining this session. So like Pankaj said, this is first session for upcoming 8 sessions, right? So we will start with very beginning, very basics, right? So maybe you are aware about the SAP or the ERP applications. So SAP ERP is the software. It is designed for the organization to streamline their operation effectively or efficiently. So this SAP ERP application will cover different domains or different department. We can say that that can be production, can be human resource, planning, inventory management, reporting, CRM, and sales and marketing. So this SAP application is covering majority of the organization or industry globally. So moving to the next slide.
Yeah, so one thing, just back to that other slide. I know, I mean, the idea is some of you already have experience with SAP ERP, some of you might be new. So SAP is an integrated enterprise resource planning software, one of the most prominent in the world. Most of the Fortune 500 companies use SAP as their ERP system. So it's a very integrated system, right from your finance to basically HR. So you can do all your processes and transaction using your ERP system. So I mean, earlier it was on-prem ECC version. Now SAP has come up with their own S/4HANA cloud version as well. So we don't want to get into too much detail of what SAP is. These sessions are more geared towards automation perspective. So we'll focus more on that front. Yes.
So yeah, so there you can access the SAP ERP application by installing the legacy like any SAP installer. We can say which UI application, and we can also access on browser itself. So if we have like it is totally depend how your organization implement or organize all these things in your organization. It can be installed on your local machine or it can be hosted on any server and you have been provided any URLs. You can use this URL on your browser to log in into Fury application or Web GUI applications. So in today's demo, we will try to cover on WinGUI application. So initially SAP has launched the application like you can install on your machine. Later, they have added the extended functionality. You can access with WebGUI, you can access with Fury, or you can access with SAP Fury applications.
And just to add, I can add to that fast from our standpoint, and we exactly started like you're saying that we were WinGUI customer, traditional license customer, where every end user had the WinGUI installed on their PC. And when we started UiPath Automation, we end up installing a lot of attended automations on their local laptops, which was interacting with the WinGUI version of SAP. And then later on, we migrated to WebGUI, and then we had to change. Yes, there are some changes to transition from WinGUI to WebGUI, but the same automation is supported now on a WebGUI as well. And then we are not on Fury yet, but we have seen some demos and some other walkthrough from SAP, and that tells us that the similar transition should work very nicely as we transition from WebGUI to Fury and then to full Fury. So like Faz said, any version of the GUI you are on, whether it's the older version of WinGUI or the latest version of WinGUI or any browser-based GUI, these automations are well supported on those GUIs.
Yep, thank you, Rahul. So you can see on my screen, that is the WinGUI application. You can also call it SAP ECC. So SAC PCC, like I said, it is the installer. You need to install on your machine or maybe on server as well. So this page you are saying it is the landing page of SAP. As soon as you log on and log into the system, so first you will land it on this page. Then you can call any transactional code, like if you are using, if you're trying to automate, if you're trying to use to create a purchase order or the business partner creation, you can type your transactional code or you can call it e-code here in these text boxes. So we will cover it later in the demo as well, like how you can call the transaction. So there are some prerequisites in order to start the SAP automation with the help of UiPath Studio. So first and foremost thing, it is you have to create a connection. So for connection, you can reach out to your basis team. They will provide the server detail in order to add, and you can add as many as server are available on your organization. So yeah, definitely we will cover these part as well, like how we will walk you through like how you can create a connection and how you can provide all these details. So from left, you can see we have to click on this icon and click on connection. As soon as you click on the connection, the next screen will appear. There you have to provide some detail. These are some mandatory detail. You have to provide the description, application server details, instance number, and the system ID, and the SAP router strings. So once you are ready and you have provided all these details, the next thing you have to do, you have to enable the scripting. So there are two scripting you have to enable. One, it is from the client side, the UiPath Studio, sorry, the SAP ACC you are using. You have to go to the option setting and enable the you can see on the right side, you have to click on the scripting and click on enable scripting. That is for the client side. For server side, there are one T code is needed, that is RZ11. So you have to provide the RZ11, then this screen will appear. There you have to provide parameters. And this will also we will cover in the demo. So we have created the connection, we have enabled the scripting. Now we comes to the UiPath Studio. So you can see there we have two different screenshots. From left, if I talk about that is the required packages. So for SAP automation or for any kind of automation, there are two different packages that are needed. If you are automating any GUI application, so you will require UiPath.UI automation activities along with the system activities. And these activities, you can see these are some pre-built activities UiPath has created. And these are come under this UiPath.UI automation activities. We will also cover it in more details when we'll automate the applications. And we will try to cover each and every activities offered by the UiPath. And you can see these are two major activities we will use in our demo. So first is SAP logon. So SAP logon it will launch your SAP logon application. So once you drag and drop the application, it will automatically take the application path. If ECC application is installed on your machine, it will automatically take. The only things you have to provide that is the connection name, because connection name can have a number of connection on your ECC applications. So the next activity is SAP login. If your organization is not enabled SSO for your account, then you have to provide this detail in order to log into the system, right? So there are mandatory fields that is needed. You can see here the client. I am providing it is 100 here, and along with client you have to provide username, password, and the language. So we have covered the activities and scripting. So now it's time for the best practices. Like for every automation, you must follow the UiPath best practices. So these practices, like we have mentioned, 5 to 6 points here. This is not specifically for the SAP automation. You can use and leverage it for any kind of automation. So starting from develop reusable components and workflows to enhance efficiency and maintainability. It means like if you are going to automate SAP, so there are a few reusable component. Reusable component means like you are logging into the system, you are using some keyboard. Keyboard can be VA02, VA03, and any, right? So you can create a reusable component or a library for it so that you can use, and your organization, your co-developer can also use the same thing, and they don't need to build it from scratch if they have needed. So you have a reusable component library, you can share it with your team as well. The next best practice is use dynamic selector to handle the changing UI elements. If you are automating GUI application, there can be a chance the UI or the selector can be changed at any time. Well, when the SAP team will release the next version. So it is a best practice. You can make a selector dynamic while adding the wildcard. Wildcard can be asterisk or a question marks. You can make the selector dynamic. Coming to the next point, leverage built-in SAP activity with UiPath for efficient automation. As you have seen in the previous slide, so UiPath itself have built activities for SAP automation. Like you can click on it, you can launch the application, you can click on menus, right? So there are a couple of activities are there. So if you are using SAP activities, but it is not fulfill your requirement, so you can replace it with the UiPath activities that can be like click activity or type into it. But it is always recommended to use the SAP activity to ease your automations. Coming to the fourth best practice, that is implement retry mechanism to handle temporary issues, right? So maybe you are the developer or you are the solution architect. So you already have seen like as a best practices, we always use the retry mechanism in case of any exception or failure. So this will maintain your code. Like if the system is trying to log into the SAP or any GUI application, it is failed at any point of time. So you can use the retry mechanism for 3 or 4 times or 5 times as per the config values or the assets values. So always recommend to use the retry mechanism to handle the exception or unknown exceptions, right? Use the object repository to manage and organize UI element. Like object repository, like for automating SAP, there are repetitive type into or a click, like you are using type into for different screen, right? Or different keyboard, but it is working for the same different screen, right? So you can use the object repository, like you are adding control, maybe click or type into the object repository. Whenever it is needed for different screen, you just need to drag and drop on your scope or code. You can reuse it, right? So it will ease your development to write the code, or no need to write the code again and again for the same actions, right? So it is always recommended to use the object repository. The third point is maintain comprehensive logging to track the progress and debug issues effectively. It means like whenever you are automating any process, you have to add the log over there. Like in case of any failure, how you will identify it is failed on which activity, it is failed on which steps. So you can add the log message activity, and there should be a proper description. Like in case of failure or success, there should be a proper descriptions. So these are some best practices.
In fact, I think just to, if we can go back, I think maybe just to reiterate your third bullet point, I think we had a similar experience, like before UiPath launched the standard package with the SAP standard activities, we used to do the traditional UiPath activity to do the recording and then do the log on to SAP recording, and then click on the bot is going to click into each of the steps and then call the SAP transactions by using the standard activity. That worked technically, but then there's always some room for error. Like if we do any upgrade on our SAP GUI and it might change some selector from here to there, there's always a chances that the bot might fail for you. So, but since we had done the package install and using the standard UiPath activities to log in and call transactions or execute the programs, it has taken away a lot of those technicalities and the issues that might happen. So it has become more independent of any version of the GUI. So to Faiz's point, I think highly recommended that if you're automating SAP, start with a standard package, use standard SAP activities UiPath provide, and then add on any other regular activities as needed to supplement or to add on any new feature. But starting point should be to use the standard UiPath SAP activities. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, just to add to Rahul's point, I mean, when we started automating SAP process, right? I mean, we started small, right? I mean, we crawled before we walked and ran. So start small, don't boil the ocean, start with these standard activities, and then move ahead in the journey as you get mature and experience using these activities.
Yeah, thank you so much for adding this point. So coming to the useful resources, these resources we will share on the chat, like so that you can go and navigate to these pages and try to replicate the same things. Like if you want to enable the scripting, you can navigate to the first page. And if you want to get some hands-on, and if you want to get some if you want to improve your expertise on the SAP automation, so there we have a dedicated course on UiPath Academy. You can go and register on it. And there we have uh, the how, like what is SAP GUI automation, like how what is the Fury automation. So you can navigate any of the given URL here to extend your knowledge, right? So as we already have covered all these things in the slide, now it's time to move on to the UiPath Studio so that we can, whatever we have covered in the PPT or the day, then we will replicate the same thing in SAP and the UiPath Studio. So first thing, you can open the SAP logon, and you can see I already have added the connection. And like I said, you can add as many as connection in your organization. To begin with new connections, you have to click on new item here. So currently you are seeing the signature theme. So SAP offer around 6 to 7 themes you can choose wisely while you are starting your development, because if your organization or your client is using different screen and you are started automating on different screen, so the selector will not work on the different theme. So it is always recommended to check your client or customer first, which theme is they are using in QA and product environment. Then you can start and choose the same things, same themes. Like I will show you like how you can choose the theme. So I'm using the signature theme currently. So in order to create the connection, first you have to click on this new item and click on connection. And the thing is needed here, you have to click on next, and there you can provide details. You already have seen this in this screenshot. So you have to provide the description, application server, instance number, system ID, and the router stream. So as I already have created for S4D, so you can click on it, go into the properties. So you will see all these details are needed in order to create the new connections. And these details will be provided or maybe added by your basis team. So you can reach out to your team, they will provide these details, or maybe they can add these details for you. So connection is ready. So now you can change, you can enable the client side scripting. So click on this option. And there you will see one tab that is accessibility and scripting, and click on accessibility, sorry, scripting, and you can click on enable scripting. So once you enable the scripting, if you want to change the theme, you can come here under this visual design, click on theme settings, and you can choose your themes, like what the customer is using or your organization is using. You can choose any theme here. And you can, once you choose the theme, you can apply and then close this logon, then open it again. So you have created the connection, you have enabled the client side scripting. The next thing, you have to enable the scripting for server side, where you are allowed to use the RZ11 code. If you are not allowed to use, you can ask your admin, they will enable for you. So you can choose any connection here. So like I said, for my organization, they have not enabled the SSO. So there I have to provide the user detail. If they are enabled the SSO for your account, then this screen will not appear. Once you get the connection, it will directly navigate to the SAP Easy Access page or the landing page. So let me provide the user detail here. So yeah, so I'm talking about this page. If your organization enable the SSO, you will directly land on this page. So it's time to enable the server side scripting. So there is the code that is called RC11, and you can hit enter, and there you have to provide the parameters name, that is SAP GUI. The same thing is also available on the UiPath documentation sections. So we will provide the URL in the chat so that you can go and so you can choose, or you can type it here SAP GUI /user_scripting and click on display. And click on change value. So you can see it is already enabled for me. If it is not enabled, so the flag value will be set false by default. You can come here, change the value, just start typing it here, true, and you can save. So you will notice there we have the checkboxes. So like you have seen, we have two different server are added in my account. So if you have multiple servers, if you want to enable this script for all your servers, you can check this box and click on save. So it will apply on all the added servers. But one thing you have to notice, which is also added on UiPath documentation sections, that is like like once this server is restarted, the settings and the thing we are going to apply it here, it will be resetted, right? So you have to come again and change the value from false to true. Okay, so we have
For that
enabled this
said, I
scripting.
think one thing, like you said, the server gets restarted and it get reset to false. There's another transaction code where they can work with the basis team, which is RZ10. If you use that transaction code, you can in the backend set that scripting to always be true. But that require you to work with your basis team to make sure they set the profile parameters in the backend to be always true. But that's another possibility. If you want to avoid changing it every time your server is restarted, you can also use RZ10 as a transaction code.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you are required to access the RZ10 code, or you can reach out to your basis team or your admin team. They will enable or they will run this T code for you, so that in case of server restarted, it is not required to come again and type the RZ11 and enable this scripting again. Thank you, Rahul. Like we are ready for the automation, so we have enabled the scripting and we have changed the themes from different themes to signature. So now comes to the UiPath Studio. So you can create your project, and these packages will be added by default. Like once you use your processes, like you are going to automate the SAP automation, you can choose any process. So some of the package will be by default installed. So if you want to remove any packages like test automation or any Excel packages, you can remove it from manage packages. So coming to the UiPath rebuild activities for SAP. So let us type the SAP. You will see all the SAP activities will list out here in this SAP. So starting from call transaction and click picture, click to call. So we will try to cover most of the activities. Not every activity, because it is required, like the T code access. If you want to generate the expand LB hierarchical table, then you should have the T code access, right? So today we are going to cover call transaction, click toolbar, and read status, SAP login, log on, and select menu and select table. So for today's demo, we are going to automate the BP, the business call process. So we are putting the T code that is BP, and we are trying to get detail on the screen which will populate, right? So first thing, we will start from the SAP log on. So you can drag and drop the activity from here, or also you can choose it from here, SAP log on. So you will see once I added the activity, the path of the application automatically populated here. The only thing I have to provide is the connection name. So we can come on this safety logon pad and click on this view properties and copy the connection name from here. So this activity will launch the application and put in this server of the connections. And next thing is logging into the system. So you have to indicate on the screen first. So let me, sorry. First, you have to indicate on this screen. Then provide the client ID, that is included. Username I already have added. And the language is English. So we have added the logo, we have added the SAP login. Then you have to add the call transaction. It here, or you can. So, like I said, always recommended to use the SAP pre-built activities, or you can also use the type into activity, because we already have the call transaction activity where we have to put the transaction code. It will automatically open the screen for whatever the transaction code we will put on the call transaction activity. So let me indicate on the screen first, and then we have to provide the transaction code or transaction code. EB stand for business partner. Okay, so I'm doing it manually because I have to automate this page. So I have entered the business partner and navigated to this main business partner page. Now I can put the business partner detail here. So first I have to add the scope. So that is use application and browser, and indicate on the screen. Okay. So this URL you can put it into the assets, or can put into the config file. So for this demo, we are to start coding it here, and I can add the activity called type into. Indicate on the control. So you will see here we have the selector, that is called stick selector. You can make it dynamic, like you have seen the best practices option to make the selector dynamic. So click on the explore icon. And you will see some information here. So all the numerical can be changed. So you can replace it with the wildcard. It can be asterisk. It can be question mark icon, right? So I'm just replacing just to let you know how you can make selector dynamic. And you can do the same for all the numeric value. And once you are added wildcard, recommended to validate it again so that you can see the selector is validated, or you can highlight the selector it is indicating on the correct controls or not. So, or you can choose it any any item to make the selector more robust. In case of like if you're not finding any correct selector, you can choose any of the properties here. Click on confirm. So we can provide some value. So I can provide the same value or can change it to from 21 And once you can also include one activity that is called key that is called keyboard shortcut, or also you can use it from here as well. If you want to enter after putting this value, you can use the enter here. So it will enter the value that is 21003 and hit enter. So you will see there is another activity called table cell scope. So in order to click on a specific columns or value, so like UiPath build a activity for this action in SAP. So let me generate this. So you will see one table rows come up here once I hit the business partner detail. So let me indicate on this table. So we will see I click on the first column, the first row. So the row will start from 0, the column that is business partner. And if I want to, so I have added the click activity, and the click will click on these columns and these rows, and we can change the type from single to double so that it can double click on the first row in the column value so that it can navigate to the next screen. Okay, so things are ready. So we can cover more activities to show you like what these activities are and how we can use it. So in order to use menus items, so you can use the pre-built activity called select menus. Click on indicate and you can choose the menus from it. So you will see. I'm sorry, the system is a bit slow. That is the reason it is taking some time to indicate on it. So you can see I have selected the menus. Like you can also use the type into activity or click activity, but there we have the pre-built activity and we can choose the menu icon in order to click on it. So there we have business partner, and under the business partner menu there we have the open. So you can choose any menus from here. Okay. And the same way you can use the click toolbar. Click on it and indicate on the toolbar. And it will get all the items in the toolbars, and we can choose any items from here. You can see locator, create person. So yeah, so that the idea is like you can use any of the pre-built activity for your SAP automation. And if you find like it is not working for your requirement, you can replace it with UiPath standard activities. Let me close the SAP application so that UiPath Studio will launch. Need to separate log on first, then log in into the system, and you will see meeting open. First, it will open the SAP logon pad, then open the connections, then log into the system, then navigate to the business partner report. Okay, it will stop because I have not added, I have not checked one property. It is called empty before typing. That is the reason it is typing after the whatever the text is there, and it is trying to type after the existing text. So yeah, so we can. It is failing on this because we have not checked. Here we have one property. It is called empty before typing. Okay, so you can change the property and it will type into the system. And before typing, it will clear all the existing values and type into. And I have added one keyboard shortcut. So once it will type, it will hit enter, then click on the table. So yeah, that is all about the SAP. So we have started from the basics. So in today's session, we are just covering the basic things, and later sessions we will see the API automation and the success factor and many more. Yeah, Diana, that is all about the demo today.
Great. So the idea was to just show you guys a simple automation, how you can, use standard activities and log in into SAP and do a simple transaction. So if you are starting new into the SAP automation space, highly recommend start small, start using the standard activities, talk to your business folks, talk to your finance people, supply chain people, see where there are opportunities into SAP automation and start doing that using the UiPath Studio. So, Rahul, any closing comments?
No, I think we covered it pretty nicely. At least, like you said, also Faz also mentioned that it's easy. I think from our experience standpoint, it always it to us also looked that maybe there are some big challenges to get started and big setup required, but it's literally nothing. Like Faz said, there are only one or two settings we have to turn on, scripting and all. But after that, UiPath provides all the standard packages, standard activities to get started. And then I know Diana just shared a lot of documents in the chat. I think those are pretty useful docs to get started. How to set up the SAP site, how to set up the studio site. I think those are pretty easy to navigate and then get started. So it's fairly straightforward to get started on the SAP automation. Of course, I know in the next series, we'll talk more in the advanced level of automation and how do you get day-to-day more detailed. But if you just looking to get started, it's fairly straightforward process.
Got it. And then UiPath has evolved from a process automation to test automation tool as well, right? So on one of the sessions we'll also talk about how you can use UiPath as a test automation tool on SAP system. So we'll talk about that in greater detail, and we'll post the session, and Diana will do that once we have the dates and times all squared out. So
Mhm. Yeah, so just want to thank you guys for talking today. If there's any questions that anybody has, I didn't see any in chat. So if you want to ask them now, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Pooja, and I have a question. So, like, if any of the SAP activity does not work or does not, I would say if it does not something, I can use it for any of the operations. Can I use the other UiPath automation activities with the SAP application?
You can. I think it depends which activity you're looking to use, Pooja. Like Faz also mentioned that, for example, one activity is called call transaction, which is to call SAP transaction code. That's one way of doing it. But if for some reason that activity does not work, you can always go type into, and then you can say, okay, go into the SAP top left corner and type into the transaction code there and type that. So you can always do that. Whereas any of the standard UiPath activities outside of the SAP package, which works for any other automation, will work for the SAP browser and the GUI as well. It depends on the use case, but in general, those activities should be working as you use it for any other automation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, this is Bob Busey, and I have an academic license of UiPath, and I was looking at the tools in Studio, and I'm not finding the SAP automation tools that you were showing there. Could you refresh my memory on where to look for those, or is it possible those aren't included in the academic license?
I'm sure you'll have to, I'm not sure we can answer those questions because we don't have, I mean, we use the enterprise licenses. So, I mean, you might want to check with UiPath folks to get an answer for that. I know different types of licenses have different functionalities available. So you might want to check with your UiPath connections from a licensing perspective to get that answer, Bob.
Yeah,
Okay,
and Bob, I can also I can get your email and then copy you on a message to Michaela, who's ahead of that for America, and you can ask her directly.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, we'll
No,
just
we have a question from Arnold on the chat. Will you also cover mobile test automation? I do have a project starting that will start on a mobile app, then verify on ERP systems such as SAP. So Faz, do we have anything on the mobile in this series?
Actually, not from the mobile testing, but we have the test automation. We have a session on the test automation.
Yeah, so Arnold, to answer your question, we have a session on test automation on SAP and also Fiori automation, which is sort of on the web, and you can use that on mobile as well. So if you want to join that, we'll post details shortly. But just from a native mobile application perspective, we don't have a session in this series, but we'll definitely cover Fiori automation and SAP test automation to answer your question. Hope that helps. Any other questions? Great. Thank you for attending this session, and Diana will post the recording by tomorrow.
yeah, and you'll find out the URL of where you can find that in the chat, as well as where you can register for the next event. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day and a great week ahead. Thanks.
You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all.